Hey, if you don't happen to know who I am, my name is Reece and I'm the owner and founder of Define. And here at Define, we focus on giving you the high quality tools and education you need to define beauty for you. Because if you have all these products and you don't know how to use them, it doesn't serve you well at all. And so that's why I wanted to make sure when I was creating Define, that I gave you all the tools you needed to know how to use our entire line. So today I'm going to teach you how to use our brand new Rosé palette. And kind of based on what I'm wearing, I'm going to go for something a little bit more bold, a little bit more dramatic than the look that we learned yesterday. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. All right, so same thing as look number one, you are going to need your dual camouflage stamper brush. Now I have the actual one. This one needs clean. She's a little dirty compared to my old one. So this is what the dual camouflage stamper brush looks like, has the two sides. You're looking for that waxier coating on it, as well as your eyeshadow primer from Define. Now, again, I already put mine on my eyelids because you know what? I do better when I look in the mirror than I do on camera. So I am just going to refresh mine really quick and make sure there is no creasing. Add some on if I need to because mine has been sitting for a while. But when you're applying this, you'll want to make sure that you underline your eyebrow first and then fill in the entire rest of your eyelid with the eyeshadow primer loaded onto the dual camouflage stamper brush. A little something on my nose there. All right. Sometimes dry skin in the winter is not fun, and I think that is what that little flake was. Love that for me. Anyways, now that I have that applied, we are going to switch to our fluffy crease brush. So if you remember this from tutorial number one, it kind of V's out. It's got that fluffy shape at the top, and you are going to swipe that on a towel real quick to get off any powder from whatever you used on it last. We're going to go into the Essentials palette, and you are going to grab this white shade, load that up, tap off any excess, and we are going to pat press that from the start of our brow all the way up to the arch underneath it. If you need to, you can kind of, move your eyebrows up to give yourself a little bit more space. I tend to do that. And you're going down a little bit, getting close to the inner corner, but not quite hitting it. Same thing over here, pat press, very key. Making sure that eyeshadow is going to stick directly onto the primer. So you're pat pressing, awesome. Okay, you are good to go. You can go ahead and put away your Essentials palette for the rest of the tutorial. And now we are going to switch into the Rosé palette. Mwah! She's beautiful as ever. And now that we use the fluffy crease brush for the white, I'm going to swipe it on a towel again. And next we're going to load up the white. Ooh, that was a dog hair on my brush. That is disgusting. Anybody else have dogs at their house? I feel like their hair just gets everywhere. So, loading up that brush with that white, tapping off any excess, and I am going to pat press from my arch all the way down the tail of my brow. And then in the inner corner of the eye, pat press, making sure you're really getting that on there. Same thing over here, pat press, loading that up, and we are ready to go to our next shade. So take your fluffy crease brush, swipe it on a towel, and we're going to load up the second color inside the Rosé palette. So that kind of peachy pink, tap off any excess, and I'm going to feel for my brow bone. I'm going slightly on top of / slightly underneath it, to really just be able to transition from my white down into the colors I will be using on my eyelid space itself later. So pat press the first 50% of the way, and then you're going to blend downwards kind of towards the inner corner of your eye the rest of the way. Same thing on the other side, load it up, pat press, and blend the remainder of the 50% of the way. Now if you're like, Reece, this looks a little jank and it's not very blended, that's totally okay. Take your fluffy crease, swipe it, and we're going to lightly go back and forth on top of that transition color we just put on. Very, very light pressure. I cannot stress this enough because if you're using harsh pressure, you are going to remove a lot of the pigment inside of that eyeshadow and you're going to be left with something that looks kind of dull. And that is absolutely not what we want. So now that is nice and blended and we are ready to move on to our next color. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this kind of purple-y, pinkish mauve. Mauve, that's what it is. I gave myself an assignment in the last tutorial to kind of come up with a name for it, and I honestly think mauve suits it the best. It looks mauve in the palette. Sometimes on your eyes it'll perform a little bit more red, and you'll probably see that with mine. It really just depends, because I've used this on some clients and it does perform more mauve on them. So just depends on the person, I would say. Okay, and I am pat pressing this on the outer 40 to 50% of my eyelid space, not taking it too high up, because as I blend it's going to expand. So pat press, making sure we're getting enough on there. Perfect. Same thing on the other side. Pat press. And we will blend after, so do not fret, because I know it probably looks crazy right now. Okay, I'm gonna load a little bit more onto this side. I really want this to be pigmented, so I'm really pat pressing, really getting a lot of product on my eyelid. So I want this pigment to really shine. When I blend, it's going to kind of remove some of that, so that's why I'm really just loading it on. Now I'm going to take my fluffy crease brush, swipe, and I'm going to blend the top of that color into my transition color. I'm going to blend the side where it meets kind of, you know, foundation powder over here, and the middle where it will meet another color. Perfect. Same thing over here. I'm blending the top, I'm blending the outside, and I'm blending the middle. Very, very light pressure. You do not need a lot to blend. Okay, I'm gonna blend a little bit more right there because I can see that on camera. And we are good to go. Okay, next color, we are going to grab this shimmery kind of rose gold on the outside, really load that up, tap off any excess, and this is gonna go on the remainder of our eyelid space. So really pat press that into your eyeshadow primer, and you're gonna get a lot of gorgeous shimmer from this. I'm almost using a little bit more pressure than I normally would with that pat press motion, because I really want this to stick into the eyeshadow primer, and this is a little bit more of a loose shimmer compared to the light pink in the palette. So that's where this one almost needs to be able to stick to the eyeshadow primer, so you're not getting a lot of that fallout throughout the day. So pat press, really taking your time to get that to stick into the primer. I have that eye done. Ooh, she's beautiful. Love that. I wish you guys could see what I could see in my palette mirror, because I feel like it reflects a little bit differently on camera, but when I'm seeing in my mirror, it is just gorgeous. I absolutely love this shimmer shade. So stinking pretty. It's like I wouldn't say neon pink. It is not neon pink, but it's definitely got a really gorgeous rose color to it. All right, pat press in the middle where that meets your color, really making sure it is sticking to that eyeshadow primer. And once you have that applied, you can take your brush and swipe it. We're going to kind of blend where that meets the transition color up on the top here. Same thing over here. And one thing I actually want to do, because I want to make this a little bit more intense, is I'm going to take my fluffy crease brush. I'm going to load up a little bit more of that mauve and then tap off any excess. And I am actually going to bring it over on the top of that shimmery rose gold that we just placed. So can you see where I just made that a little bit bigger? I wanted my eyeshadow to look a little bit more intense. So I'm actually almost doing like a double transition color with this action. Essentially, it's fairly similar. So adding a little bit more, really making sure I get that on there. Now, one thing you can do if you're like, Reece, this is a little hard for me to blend, is you can take the Pro Angle brush and blend with that. So back and forth motion, very gentle, making sure that you're not taking off too much pigment. And I'm using the longer bristles at the bottom. Okay. Ooh, so pretty. Now, I am going to swipe my precision crease brush, So again, that's the one with more of that pointed tip. And we are going to bring it into the under eye again, like we did in the last tutorial. So loading up that mauve, tapping off any excess, and I'm going to scribble that in my under eye, only going 50% of the way over. Same thing on the other side, connecting it to the top, scribbling about 50% of the way over. Now I am ready to blend that, so I'm going to grab my fluffy crease brush, swipe it, and blend. So just blending right on the outside of where we created that. This is called a halo inside of eyeshadow. So really it just brings everything together, makes it look a little bit more striking. And if you're like, honestly, I was good with it without the halo, you absolutely do not have to add the halo. It's kind of just one of those extra things that really makes your eyeshadow stand out. All right, now I have that blended and good to go. One thing you can do, because again, this is a little bit more of a dramatic look, is I am actually going to take some of, let's do this. This light pink shimmer, I'm gonna load it, tap off the excess, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of this right from the middle towards the inner corner, because I'm gonna bring that brightness on in to this look. So I'm blending that light pink shimmer from the inner corner and kind of letting it meet the middle of that pink. So making sure you have those blended. So pretty. You can see where that just made it not as red in the under eye and gave it a little bit more color, gave it a different option for you to be able to wear. Okay, beautiful, love it. I'm going to check how this looks in my mirror, make sure it is good to me, making sure everything blends here as well is pretty key, because you don't really want a harsh line, you want it to look soft and diffused, so that's where you can take your fluffy crease, yeah, I said that right, and blend. So now all I have to do from here is I am going to tightline the top of my eye. That might look a little bit weird on camera, so I'm not going to freak you guys out, but I'm going to use our pencil mechanical eyeliner in black to do that, and then I am going to do my mascara. Let me see if I have them so I can show you. But we just got in the Glow mascara at Define, and so now we have the lash thickener and conditioner, volumizing mascara, and lash lengthening mascara. But today I'm going to be using the thickener and conditioner and volumizing mascara. So I'm gonna go do my tight lining with my eyeliner and mascara, and I will be right back. All right, here is the final look from today's tutorial. It is just a stunning, really pink, really awesome eyeshadow look. I think it is so pretty. I wish you guys could see the shimmer in person, because I feel like the camera is not picking up on it as well as I would like it to, but you can even see how much it's really just enhancing my hazel eyes. I don't know, they're borderline hazel, borderline green, but we'll go with hazel for this instance. So thank you so much for joining me for today's tutorial. If you want to be able to learn more about how to do your makeup, follow tricks, tips, techniques from me, then you can definitely check us out at Define Beauty, and I will link our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube so you guys can check all that out in the next slide after this. And then if you want to purchase anything that was mentioned inside of today's tutorial, you can go to definebeautyforyou.com, and I'll also have that in that slide. But again, thank you for joining me, and I will see you in our next tutorial.